Visuality. Video blog number 2 for Communication 601, Communication Fluency. For this video blog, I was assigned to use an article that I researched in week 2 and create a speech using the academic article's subheadings as my outline. I chose the article "Emplaced Cartographies, Conceptualizing Camera Phone Practices in an Age of Locative Media." In a second, I'll go into detail about the article, but first I'll give a little background as to why I picked it. I've always been interested in photography, so when we were asked to pick an article based on any topic, that's the one that I chose. I think that photography and communication are especially interesting topics when paired together because there are so many different ways to analyze the deeper meanings of images. This article discusses how the landscape for digital photography has changed in relation to camera phones and social media. Let's dive in. Emplaced Cartographies, Reconceptualizing Camera Phone Practices in an Age of Locative Media by Larissa Horth and Sarah Pink. What is the new visuality? The new technologies such as high-quality camera phones and in-phone editing apps are changing the way that we interpret photographs. There is a shift taking place in the realm of photo sharing. Previous methods simply shared pictures with one another through online networking with websites such as Facebook, Flickr, and other social networks. Now, due to more apps using location-based services, users are creating a more dynamic media cartography that is enhanced by their social network. Basically, the authors are saying that because the images that we take on our phones are now tracked using location-based services, be it through the app you're using or your phone itself, it's creating a digital network that's actually a map that you can see that shows where your images are being taken. The current research is focusing on the 3 S's of camera phone photography: sharing, storing, and saving. Other research focuses on how digital images create networked visuality through social media such as Facebook and Flickr. And some other research articles focus more on content, specifically how the banal everyday content documented by camera phones is on the rise. A quote I found interesting from the article is, "Yet the banality of the camera phone should not be understood only in terms of the visual content of the images it produces, but also in its very use. It has become an embedded part of the ordinary, the routine, habitual, and often tactic practices in which we engage as we move through sense and perceive environments." This rung true to me, basically because how often are you out and you witness it or you do it yourself? Everything is experienced through the lens of your smartphone. Taking pictures to post them on Facebook or Instagram or any other photo sharing site seems to be more common than people just experiencing something out in the world for themselves. How does this lead to emplaced cartographies? As camera phones become more commonplace, emergent types of visual overlays become apparent. New contexts for image distribution accompany the increased popularity of camera phones, things such as microblogging, Instagram, Facebook Places, and Foursquare. With the addition of location-based services, images are not only shared via social networks, but can be tracked on a digital social map. In other words, with location-based services like Facebook Places and location-based games like Foursquare and Gpong, we see a further extension of overlaying locality in the social and personal, whereby the electronic is superimposed onto the geographic in new ways. Specifically, by sharing an image and a comment about a place through LBS, users can create different ways to experience and record journeys, and in turn impact upon how place is recorded, experienced, and thus remembered. I included a picture from my own phone that shows how my images are cataloged, kind of to prove this point. The images I take on my iPhone aren't just put into an album of they were taken this day at this time. It's actually categorized on a map so that I can look at a map of Dallas or the state of Texas or the country and see where I've taken the majority of my photos. The researchers in this article used the phenomenological approach, rooted in a visual and multisensory ethnography, to analyze how the new media cartography is created. Phenomenology is the way in which human beings come to understand the world through direct experience. Digital photographs are an actual visual record of that experience, so they felt that this would be a logical approach. The data that they analyzed is that the rise of camera phone photography is a shift from print-based photography. Today, the overwhelming majority of personal photographs are destined never to appear on paper. I could not tell you the last time I personally have printed a picture, and I don't think I've ever printed one off of my smartphone, so I found that to be an interesting and very true part of their paper. Increased popularity of the iPhone camera represents a new universe of reference and creates new ways to think about camera phone practices as being in between image and information. Not only is what you take on your phone an image, there's also a lot of information on the backside, for example, where it was taken and when. And also, they looked at images are no longer viewed as snapshots, but as diverse moments within particular forms of time and space through geolocation services and tags. I think by this they looked at how these services and tags are a greater part of the image. It's not just a picture of two people, it's a picture of two people at a certain place at a certain time, and you have all of that information right at your fingertips. Their analysis goes to talk about the process of geolocation and how it allows us to conceptualize the process of consumption and production and action. As users that take photos, we relate to the images we see in the context as photographer and viewer simultaneously. Not only do we look at a picture and see the picture itself, we are also probably thinking about and relating to how that picture was taken, especially if it is in a service such as Instagram, where you have to pick and be very cognizant of the filters you're using. A lot of times people will say, I would have picked a different way. So you're relating to a photo not only as someone that's viewing it, but as someone that takes them. Camera phone visuality is no longer simply networked. It is emplaced upon a meshwork of moving things. These images are now outcomes of the total environment, not just pictures. We see not only photographs, but the actions and locations of the photographer as well. Camera phone images are inextricable from their placement on digital maps. So the conclusion by the authors is that by utilizing camera phones and location-based services to take and catalog photographs, users are creating new forms of intimate public spaces, which may sound like an oxymoron, but it's a public space that's shared with the people that are viewing your pictures. So it is the intimate form of knowing what's going on in that photograph, but on a greater scale. Visual content, while at first may seem banal, is actually deeply contextualized. It's not just a picture of your food, it's a picture of your food that someone thought about for 5 minutes before they took it. They probably staged it. They probably thought about a different filter to use on it so they could present it the best way possible. So there's a lot that goes into taking these pictures. Images are edited and shared and tagged with the purpose of relating to more complex social and digital environments. That would be the meshwork and the cartography that the authors have discussed. Through the use of location-based services and social sharing of images to create a digital map of social image interaction, users are actually documenting their surroundings more often. The authors are finding that through Foursquare and Facebook and Instagram and microblogging and Flickr and the multitude of apps that you can put on your phone to take pictures and catalog them, people are actually sharing their environments more often and sharing them with more people. As with the case of Instagram, you can share with strangers. So it's interesting to see the way that access to a camera is increasing the way people are using them. And the works that I cited are In Place Cartographies, Reconceptualizing Camera Phone Practices in an Age of Locative Media. Thank you.